Thank you for joining us tonight for Mind the Gap Year panel. My name is Dorothy Zillick. I'm the Director of Career Services at the University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg. I'm very excited about tonight's program and eager to hear from our panel, and I hope you are as well. Tonight's program is a testament to service and the people who work to make the world a better place. With this theme, we are incredibly honored to have Dr. Kathy Humphrey welcome you all. Dr. Humphrey is the Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement and Secretary of the Board of Trustees. She embodies both community service and civic engagement. She truly believes in working for others and developing opportunities to help the region to be successful. It is my privilege to share a small part of her accomplishments and story. Dr. Humphrey serves as the University of Pittsburgh's Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement and Secretary of Board of Trustees. In these roles, she oversees the university's internal and external relations, focusing on facilitating business engagement, strategic initiatives and partnerships, and government interactions at all levels. She has earned numerous awards and recognitions throughout her career, including the YWCA Tribute to Women Leadership Award, 2016 Nellie Leadership Award, distinction as one of the New Pittsburgh Courier's 50 Women of Excellence, and the 2019 Onyx Women's Leadership Award for her contribution to the community and support of other women. She also earned the Pitt African American Alumni Council's Sankofa Award, which honors community members who have offered outstanding educational support to students of African descent. Outside the university, Dr. Humphrey serves on the board of directors for the Urban League of Greater Pittsburgh, Leadership Pittsburgh Incorporated, Gwen's Girls, and Blood Science Foundation. She also serves on the executive committee of the International Women's Forum of Pittsburgh and is the chair of the Forbes Funds. In 2013, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation appointed Dr. Humphrey to the Advisory Council for the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, where she served for 4 years. Dr. Humphrey earned a Bachelor of Science at Central Missouri State University, now the University of Central Missouri, a Master of Arts at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and a doctorate in educational leadership at St. Louis University. She also maintains a faculty appointment in Pitt's School of Education. Thank you, Dr. Humphrey, for being with us tonight.
It is such my pleasure. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for those kind introductory words, Dorothy. And thank you to the Career Centers here on our Oakland campus and our regional campuses for inviting me to spend some time with our students and our recent graduates. While we are apart because of social distancing, it has been the students that I have missed the very most. You are the life force of our campus. Our students and our alum are what make Pitt great. And I have missed seeing all of you. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to share with you a little bit this evening, mainly to remind you that we care about you. We care about your future, and we care about how you are doing and what you are doing. And the career centers on each of the Pitt campuses are here to help you navigate your pathway forward. I implore you to take advantage of their expertise and the resources they have available. A year ago, none of us could have imagined that our world would have been placed on hold because of a global health pandemic. It just wasn't on our radar. We were all going about our business and making our plans, and now we have all stopped in our tracks. And some of us are uncertain about our future. I am sure each of you are wondering, will I get a job? When will I get a job? And what's going to happen? And while I can't give you a definitive answer to those questions, I can encourage you to be flexible and be flexible in this moment. Be flexible in the opportunities that you can pursue. Be flexible in the networks that you can join, and be flexible in how you approach your next steps, because your next steps will lead you to your future. When each of you started your journey here at the University of Pittsburgh, I'm sure that many of you had an ironclad plan about what you wanted to accomplish and what you wanted to do with your lives once you graduated. But life has a funny way of taking our plans and throwing them out the window. Things change, circumstances change, and part of maturation requires us to adapt to that change. Part of that is changing your mindset and thinking about the possibilities that you do have and not the things that you've lost or think you've lost. Focus on what you can do and not what you cannot. Listen to the panelists. They seem like they will be amazing people for you to learn from tonight. And gather all you can from them tonight. And learn as much as you can about their organizations and their mission. And maybe, just maybe, there are some career opportunities out there that you hadn't even considered. There are a number of great challenges facing the world today. And there are a number of great organizations dedicated to helping and healing our world. And I believe that many of you are called to use your gifts and your talents to help these organizations discover fresh and innovative ways to help the world face and conquer its problems. So listen with open ears, but mostly with an open heart. And hopefully something that is said tonight will encourage you to develop a new path and a new plan to pursue a new and different opportunity. I'm glad you're here tonight, and I believe that tonight will make a difference on your path to your future. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Humphrey, for those inspiring words. Nonprofit organizations have a wide variety of goals and activities, but they all have one thing in common. As I mentioned earlier, they work to change the world and make it a better place. Recently, I looked up the number of nonprofits and found that there are more than 1.5 million in the United States. Tonight, we have the pleasure to hear from representatives from nonprofit organizations who focus on such industries as government, education, science, healthcare, emergency response. In addition, we also have 2 university graduates who have actively pursued postgraduate opportunities that they will discuss. Mind you, with so many nonprofits, we are just giving you a small glimpse of experiences you might look into for the future. Fariel Alam, a recent 2020 graduate, will be moderating the panel with me for the next hour. We hope you will think about your goals, beliefs, and values tonight. We would now like to welcome our panel and ask them to introduce themselves, telling us a little about how they became involved with their organization. Darren, could we begin with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I'm Darren Ellerby, and I'm the director of the Community Engagement Center in Homewood. This is the University of Pittsburgh's first community engagement center, and the second center is located in the Hill District. I am a University of Pittsburgh graduate as well, and from Pittsburgh, so I'm very proud to represent not only the Steel City, but my alma mater tonight. And I'm hoping that you'll leave here with just a few golden nuggets that will carry you into your careers. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia. I am as quirky as I appear in that photo of me. I graduated from University of Pittsburgh Greensburg in 2011. I did find Habitat for Humanity while studying on campus through the campus chapter. I did a few collegiate challenges and then took it globally. I've done builds in Romania, Jordan, Vietnam, a whole bunch of places. So I really hope that I can share that knowledge and experience with everyone today, and that hopefully I can inspire you to do similar work.
Thank you, Alicia. Carol?
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be part of this panel tonight. Carol Overly, the director of Pennsylvania Mountain Service Corps, the local AmeriCorps program, We're located in Ebensburg, which is about an hour east of Pittsburgh, and we serve in 15 Pennsylvania counties. I graduated from St. Vincent's and with a master's degree actually in, a bachelor's degree in history and political science, which has a lot to do with civics. And I received a master's degree in history from Duquesne University. And I got involved in between St. Vincent's and Duquesne with the AmeriCorps group that was just getting started in 1994. And I thought, well, what the heck, you know, I'll just jump in and see what this is all about. And it has a lot to do with civics. And almost 26 years, 27 years later, I'm still with the organization. So I hope to pass on a lot of my experiences and knowledge to you tonight.
Thank you so much, Carol. I believe that Jeff Rakes, unfortunately, was having some technical difficulties, so we will see if he can join us a little bit later. William?
Hello, my name is William Spencer, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency's Western Area Office. I primarily serve the 24 counties in Western PA in all phases of emergency management. As Dr. Humphreys said, I didn't plan on becoming an emergency manager when I started my career. I've been in public safety for over 20 years. However, about 10 years ago, life made a turn for me. I was a full-time police officer, and after 9/11, the field really started to grow, and I was kind of pulled in that direction, and I've been here ever since. And it's one of those amazing fields that I think that as we go through tonight, if you have some questions, we can certainly find ways to tie your degree, your interest to the field, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you.
Thank you. And Bobby?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bobby Wadgear. I'm President and CEO of United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania. Our organization is over 130 years old. It's a global organization that works with human service nonprofits in the community. For us, it's the 5-county Southwestern PA region, Allegheny, Butler, Westmoreland, Fayette, and Armstrong counties that we serve. And we work with hundreds of nonprofit organizations, human service organizations, to improve educational outcomes, family financial stability, older adults' ability to live as independently as possible in communities, as well as people with disabilities, helping them to live as full lives and be employed if they would like to be within the community. I am an undergrad graduate of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, and I did my doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm a twice over alum of Pitt, and happy to be here with you this evening.
Oh, thank you so much. We just have an absolutely wonderful panel, and I'm so excited about tonight. Unfortunately, it does not appear that that Jeff Rakes is going to be able to join us. So I'm going to ask Fariel, because she is also interning with him this summer, if she can speak a little bit to his slide when it comes up. Okay. Fariel, are you ready to?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Fariel Alam. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg. I graduated in April 2020, and we're going to start tonight by asking the panel a few questions. We're going to start off with Ms. Carol Oberly with AmeriCorps. And would you be able to talk about the mission of the organization and the impact the organization has on the community? And what kind of opportunities exist for students and recent graduates in AmeriCorps?
Okay, thank you. So our mission is really to engage citizens in community service. Our particular AmeriCorps group, as I said previously, serves 15 Pennsylvania counties. There's AmeriCorps groups all over the United States. Each one's a little bit different. And our group has a couple key objectives. One is academic success for students K through 12, and particularly seeing them improve in literacy and math skills. We also do a lot for environmental stewardship, and we have a healthy futures or a social service objective. With those objectives, we have had a lot of impact over the 27 years that we've been in existence. And for just a little bit of an example, the last year's data that I have, we recruited and managed about 557 community volunteers. We served 2,385 K through 12 students in 37 different schools. And they had a 99% increase in their literacy and math skills. And that's a significant increase in those skills. And our environmental team did water quality testing and trail repairs in almost 30 miles of waterways and trails. And they presented environmental education programming to over 3,600 K through 12 students and adults. And they planted almost 6,000 tree seedlings across their area. And we provided over 5,000 individuals with health and wellness education. We have numerous opportunities, and right now is a really great time if you're considering joining AmeriCorps as a gap year. I would encourage you to visit our website, which is up on the screen, pmsc.org. And when you go on the website, you would click on Become a Member, and then you can see our current positions. And there's a description of every position that we have available. We're filling positions now and onboarding for positions that would start on August 20th in all of the areas that I mentioned. But a lot of those have filled, so you want to keep looking at our website because we continuously post opportunities. And we have a September and an October start date. Then we'll have a little bit of a break, and we'll start up again in January for people to be able to serve through an AmeriCorps position.
And I just wanted to chime in here if it would be okay. I had the opportunity to be an AmeriCorps member for 2 years. I was lost after, it was actually a master's degree, and I couldn't find a position right away in my field, and I was really looking for experience. I became the service learning coordinator for St. Vincent for 2 years, and I actually worked for Carol. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. I had the opportunity to make connections I never would have made. I gained really practical experience in the field. And I remember that following that, I had a full-time job offer right away. So it was just an amazing experience. I was able to help for 3 weeks through AmeriCorps with Hurricane Katrina and do disaster relief. So there's just lots of opportunities.
There is, and thank you for chiming in on that. And also with COVID-19 that's happening right now, like Dr. Humphrey said, you never know what opportunities and doors could open up for you. Because what I've noticed is some of the AmeriCorps members that are just finishing up their year of service, they are now getting hired because there's so many positions that are open and the need for more teachers, a lot of social service work. So these positions are opening up with all these different nonprofits, and they had already had an AmeriCorps member that they were able to test drive, if you will, for a whole year. So those AmeriCorps members are now in the right place at the right time to fill those openings. So you just never know, because when they signed up for this year, that was not part of the expectation that we'd be going through this, but it opened some unexpected doors. So you just never know.
So next, I'm going to speak a little bit more about the city of Greensburg and the opportunities they have. They have a student planner program, which I'm currently a part of this summer. They have various cohorts and they're already recruiting for the next fall cohort. I definitely recommend it to students who are interested in project management. And even the thing that stood out about the program to me is you gain very valuable life skills. You gain communication skills, you learn how to work in a team. And some of the things that I was working on throughout the course of the cohort program was I was able to assist in grant writing. I helped pull data from the GIS database, and just gaining valuable project management skills. And the ability to network with everyone and learn about everyone's background really stood out to me about the opportunity. And I definitely recommend students to learn more about it.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Mr. William Spencer and talk about PIMA. If you could talk a little bit more about the mission of your organization and what kind of opportunities exist for students.
All right, thank you. The Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, our primary mission is we execute what we call the 5 mission areas of protection, prevention, mitigation, response, and recovery at all levels of government for the citizens of Pennsylvania. So one of the things that's very, very interesting is that we integrate both vertically and horizontally with all levels of government, with the business community, and with citizens pretty much on a daily basis. And one of the things that Carol had mentioned about gaining that experience, there's a lot of value to that in our field in particular, because we look for people who have not only the educational background, so the academic side of it, but a little bit of training and experience to go along with it. And one of the things that we offer, as you can see on these slides, is that you can take free courses through FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. You can follow one of our training plans that when you complete that, you actually have the certifications that you can take to various organizations that are directly applicable to employment. Those are NIMS, which is the National Incident Management System, the Incident Command Systems, ICS. There's a professional development series. These are all free courses that you can take that online, and when you complete them, you leave with certifications that say I at least have some technical knowledge of the field as we go. And so I think that's really valuable for students that in this gap year. One of the things with our mission that a good friend and mentor of mine shared with me, when he teaches a class, he always starts out by saying, what is the difference between a first responder and emergency manager? And the answer is simple. First responders save lives. Emergency managers save communities. And so when we think about the depth of our field, we connect with so many different organizations. And I'm going to go back to Carol again, is that experience you integrate. We know now, and we see that value when you don't know what opportunities available, because on a daily basis, I interact with probably 15 to 20 different agencies daily. And so it's I think it's something of tremendous value to look into. As you can see on our website, we offer different organizations where you can volunteer. There are first responder organizations, volunteer firefighter. Please join a volunteer fire company if you want some experience. Tremendous amount of training that's there. Emergency management technician, EMT, paramedics, high demand, great job skills, very, very transferable. The local level emergency management, City of Greensburg, they have emergency management at the local level. They work with their county and Westmoreland County up through us to PIMA. So lots and lots of opportunities there. And it's I kind of use the analogy of a multi-lane highway. You can shift lanes as you're going forward, but as long as you're going forward, you're doing well. And so that's something that our career field really offers you, and you can bounce back and forth as your interests change. And so I would highly encourage you to check out our website, look at some of those training opportunities that are there. Again, they're all free, and you leave, you have some paper too that helps you out.
Next, we're gonna go to Ms. Bobby Wackier. If you can please talk about the mission of your organization and what kind of opportunities there are for students.
Sure, thank you. As I briefly mentioned, United Way really works to improve lives of members of our community by making sure that if you think about, what are the things that really make for a good life? It's an education for yourself and for your family members, a living wage job a career that you connect with and that you're fulfilled by, and that you have good health and access to healthcare services if you're not in good health. And those are the things, those building blocks to a good life are really what United Way is working in concert with hundreds of organizations in the community. We stand in this space between human service organizations and corporations and public agencies, governmental agencies, and we work to bring them all together to try to solve some of our most vexing community problems. Of late, with the pandemic, that has been making sure that people's basic needs of food and shelter have been met. But we, unlike a foundation, we're raising dollars every year to be able then to grant out into the community. So our organization raises about $40 million each year, and we grant that out to hundreds of organizations in the community who work on addressing those basic needs of education and health and family financial stability. And then each year the clock resets and we work with our corporate partners again to raise those dollars. So it's incredibly important work in partnership with the various community members. And so when I think about what are the opportunities available for students coming out of school, it really runs the gamut. So we raise funds, we have to manage a lot of those funds. So we have business and administration majors, we have folks who have majored in political science, we have people who have majored in English and in communications, we have a big marketing operation as well. Well, not by staff, but certainly by effort, to be able to get the message out into the community. So we have a lot of opportunities across areas of interest and specialty. And I would say they also run across employment opportunities, volunteering opportunities, and internship opportunities. Now, I would say about employment opportunities, and refer back to what Carol said, if you're an AmeriCorps volunteer, certainly that gets you known within the organization. I will say that the nonprofit sector is the third largest sector in the United States, behind retail and manufacturing. We employ over 12 million people. So a lot of people don't think about this when you're going to school, that, oh, I want to work for a nonprofit. We employ a lot of people, but I will also say that the pandemic is putting an incredible stress on nonprofits in terms of funding streams and the ability to keep up with the extreme need in the community. So at this point, there may not be as many opportunities, but there certainly are some opportunities. But if it's not employment, certainly an internship opportunity across any of those business functions or external facing community relationships that we hold. And also the volunteer opportunities are tremendous. There's a slide that you can see that's a shot of our website. If you go to uwswpa.org, you can click on our volunteer page. Right now, in real time, there are dozens of volunteer opportunities available that you could avail yourself to. And I don't want to miss or understate the opportunity to meet a variety of people and network in the community if you're volunteering. So if it's at the food bank, or if it's at a homeless shelter, or if it's somewhere else in the community, you may be meeting your next employer, whether it's the organization you're volunteering with or the fellow volunteers you're interacting with in that experience. So I think if you think about nonprofit opportunities in those three categories of employment, of internships, and of volunteerism as well, I think that you could find a lot of real-time experience until you figure out what it is that you want to do next. And it may very well be with that particular nonprofit organization.
And then next, we're going to go to Ms. Darren Ellerby to talk about the University of Pittsburgh Community Engagement Center. If you could please talk about the mission of the organization and what kind of opportunities exist for students and recent graduates.
Thank you so much. And I do not know how I'm going to follow everyone because all of the information is pretty much the same the same amount of information that I would share. I will try to add just something different. So I do understand that there are students on the line still in undergrad. And so at the Community Engagement Center in Homewood, which is 3.8 miles away from campus in Oakland, we have a few opportunities for current students, and then I will also talk about some possibilities for recent grads. Shout out to the class of 2020, by the way. So at the center, it's pretty much a front door to the University of Pittsburgh in the community. Homewood itself is only like around 1 square mile, so it's not a very large community, and just under 6,000 people reside there. The center has been open since October of 2018. I've been in place for 3 years, boots on the ground, building relationships, learning about the missions of community-based organizations in Homewood so that I could better align what those missions to actual Pitt partners. So Pitt schools, Pitt including Pitt faculty, staff, and students. The goal is that we can collectively work together to address many of the challenges of the area. So pretty much our mission is strengthened by the University of Pittsburgh strategic plan called the Plan for Pitt. And there's a goal or a tenet within that plan that calls for the University of Pittsburgh to strengthen communities. And so I'm very happy that the university's Community Engagement Center is just one tool of many that we're using to do just that. Now, as far as opportunities, so for current students, if you're a sophomore or a junior in Rising at Pitt, we have a program called the Community Assistant Program, and that program pairs students who apply to community organizations in Homewood, where those students would work for the entire school year in return for a scholarship. So that program has taken place for the last 3 years. And the beauty of that program is we're starting to see students who participated in the first or second cohort return back to the community, either as employees within the organizations that they were housed within or as volunteers. So it's almost like once you're, touched by community work, you sort of can't get away from it. And I know that there's a lot of myths out there related to working for nonprofits that you won't be able to make a living, but I'm sure you, as someone who's been committed to community engaged work my entire life, the goal of strengthening communities to me surpasses a lot, and I'm able to make a living in the process. So don't ever think that you won't be able to make a good living doing nonprofit work. So I just end by saying nonprofit work is definitely a foot in the door, whether you get in as a volunteer, an intern, or employee. Once people get to know you, so building relationships is very, very important. So once people get to know you, they can vouch for you. And a lot of times when nonprofits are hiring, they look within. I can think of maybe 4 students off the top of my head who started as interns and are now employed. So as far as opportunities for people who are already graduated and you're looking for work, I would turn to a couple of websites, and I'll drop them in the chat box, but I'll say them to you as well. Nonprofit Talent is a website that I promote a lot. And if you're in the Pittsburgh area or region, or actually even in the state itself, because I've seen jobs as far away as like Philadelphia. But nonprofit talent, they're always looking for people. And I'm going to shout out AmeriCorps too. So the Homewood Children's Village is located in the community. And just yesterday, I was talking to their executive director, and they need more AmeriCorps applicants. So they are actively looking right now. I will also drop my email in the chat box. If you're interested, I can make the connection for you for that opportunity. And I was never a AmeriCorps worker, but I've worked with a lot of members. They're phenomenal. And a lot of nonprofits need the capacity that AmeriCorps provides in order to stay functioning. So I just wanted to provide that shout out. And I believe my 5 minutes are up. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much to all the panelists for sharing this valuable information about your organizations. I have a question for all the panelists. What recommendations do you have for students and recent graduates trying to gain experiences in their respective fields? And how do they go about looking for those opportunities?
Well, I already spoke about nonprofit talent. Again, I think that that's just a wonderful website. Build those relationships. The one thing that I wish I would have known when I set out into the professional world or transitioning from being a student into being a young professional is not only networking, but building the relationship beyond networking. You can go to a networking event, you can shake hands, exchange cards, but if you're not following up or staying in contact, trying to set up the meeting, and then have a purpose once you get that person's attention. If you're not doing that, then you're not really relationship building. And in a place, especially like Pittsburgh, that's a large town, as I like to call it. A lot of people won't be aware of who you are in your work, and that's just very important. So to me, networking and relationship building, as well as just going to different websites like nonprofit talent, might be fruitful.
The other thing that I would recommend highly, if you're interested in the nonprofit sector, is becoming a member of the Greater Pittsburgh Nonprofit Partnership. And they, as we all are at this point, doing a lot of virtual work, but it provides an opportunity to network within the nonprofit sector. The membership is probably around 500 organizations in southwestern Pennsylvania. So it's a very quick way to get connected in the community.
And I'd also like to add as well, the International Association of Emergency Managers is a professional association that you can join as a student, and there are scholarship opportunities there as well. So you can look at that. They offer additional training, they offer internships, and they also offer certification and credentialing. So it's something that builds on what the other two panelists have just talked about as far as that networking, that it gets you out there, you get some recognition, you start to see some names and some people that you may be interested in reaching out to, and then use services like Facebook and LinkedIn to reach out and say, hello, I met so-and-so, or I read an article by you, and just start forming that. And then conferences. If there are any type of professional conferences in the area, please go to those. Even if there's a small cost to it, get the money, go. That, as Darren said, that face-to-face contact is so vital, and it's very, very important. So those are two recommendations that I would make.
And I'm going to jump in and say that AmeriCorps in and of itself is that great place just to take a gap year so that you can get some practical experience under a mentor. You get behind the scenes and you get to meet people and do things that maybe you wouldn't normally do if you go full tilt right into a career, because we're also doing community service projects. And like Dorothy mentioned, sometimes there's opportunities that just present themselves because a natural disaster happened. and we all go and respond to that. And that's not something that maybe you would expect to do if you're going right into a job. So it gives you a variety of experiences. So AmeriCorps is a really great segue into a professional career.
I will piggyback on that and recommend keeping your options open, and don't be afraid to follow something that you find a little interesting but not in line with your exact idea of what you wanted your career to be. For instance, I started off graduating with communications degree and then went into sales, and now I'm in data privacy and I love it. And I would not have gotten there had I not taken the jump and looked into something that I was a little intrigued with.
Alicia, I will add on to that. So, and thank you for sharing, by the way. So I accepted quite a lot of internships when I was in school, and even following. I think the gap year is a great opportunity to not only intern, but also look at fellowship opportunities as well. But so I landed an internship at Def Jam, and I lived in Queens, New York for a few months out of that gap year. And I know a few of you are probably rolling your eyes like that was a horrible internship, but it wasn't, right? It was a great opportunity. But up until that point, I wanted to work in the music industry. And that internship taught me that I did not fit into the music industry. And I came home and shifted focus. So this gap year is just an excellent time to explore and to see if you want to work in a certain industry or not, and make that decision now, right? Because you definitely don't want to be stuck in a career, even though I don't think nowadays anyone is stuck in a career. You can always pivot, but you definitely don't want to be stuck in a career or down a path that you hate or you might hate. So I just wanted to share that too. Make sure you're exploring and taking advantage of this time.
Thank you all very much for that valuable information and advice. It really resonated with me, and I am from the class of 2020. And we just had Jeff Rakes join us from the city of Greensburg. If you could please talk a little bit more about the mission of the work you do and what kind of opportunities there are for students.
You're on mute, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. Can you see me? Because I'll be a little embarrassed if you can.
Yeah, we can see you.
All right, good. This is great. So I'm in my basement. I had some major technological challenges just to get on this thing. So I apologize, guys. I had to throw away one computer. I didn't throw it away, but I set it off to the side, and now I'm on my wife's iPad. But you guys are all seeing great stuff. So what I would say, so we did the student planner program. Fariel, I don't even know what your question was, but I'm gonna just briefly talk about our student planner program because I'm so proud. And you're a recent alumni, so that's pretty cool. So in our office, we have a program where we bring students in cohorts based on the academic calendar, and they work with us to help make decisions about the future of the city of Greensburg. And so we are, sometimes we have anywhere from say 4 to 8 students. Thanks, Chris. Anywhere from 4 to 8 students every semester. And it gets a little crowded in our office. But now everything's virtual, so we could probably do more. But they engage in the day-to-day planning of the city. And Fariel, you could answer this question. I'll kick it back over to you. What was it like to be part of the student planner program?
It was a wonderful experience. There were 2 other students besides myself, and one student had a project management background, and he's wanting to pursue a career in that. So it's very interesting to learn from him and see how he makes maps. And then another lady, she was in an MBA program for human resource management, and just learning from each other and other people your age, that's also valuable. And definitely network with fellow students and other people in your internships, because you never know who they may know and what doors they can open for you as well.
But what's cool? I'll add on to that. What's cool about the program? And I was thinking about this. I was listening to the other folks talk. What's cool about the program is that essentially you're part of a community while you're going to school. And what's neat about planning is that you're helping better that community. And so you're doing good work, right? So you're helping the folks there make that community better. And one of the things that's lacking in communities across southwestern Pennsylvania and probably across the United States, and planners have been paying attention to it, is that we're losing capacity, right? So community, like look at all the boards for all your churches and nonprofits and things like that. Many of the folks are aging, and they're aging out of being part of the leadership of these organizations. So students represent a really neat opportunity to add capacity for a community to marshal positive change. So that's been the neatest thing about the Student Planner program, is sitting down with people and talking about the future of their communities. So I don't know if I answered the question, Fariel, but hopefully that's something.
Thank you very much. I know I gained like so many valuable skills like throughout the course of the Student Planner program. And next, we're going to pass it over to Lindsay to talk about the Volcker Alliance.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this panel today. So I want to just chat with you a little bit more about Volcker Alliance and what it is. It is a nonprofit organization that is teaming up with government to university right now to kind of build that initiative to get the opportunities from local, state, and federal government agencies out to students and out to universities around the Pittsburgh area. So really what it's doing, it's going to help us create a pipeline to make sure that students are aware of the opportunities that USA Jobs will have posted. So for example, the Department of Defense or the FBI, NSA, CIA, things like that. So if you are interested and want to learn more about these opportunities, please visit the University of Pittsburgh's career centers and make sure that you make appointments for, resume reviews, mock interviews, tips on, applying for USA Jobs and more. So just FYI too, I forgot to introduce myself. I am the Employment Development Specialist at the University of Pittsburgh's Career Center main campus. And I work very closely with nonprofit and the government sector. So if you have any questions, I would feel more than happy to answer them and kind of go from there and lead you in the right direction. I'll put my information into the chat function, and then make sure you follow us on social media, because that is where we're going to be posting a lot of things that are going to be coming up this academic year. Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Definitely on Instagram as well too. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Lindsay. So now I hope that we can take just a few minutes, because I know that we are going to be running shorter on time than I thought. I really want us to hear a little bit from our graduates, find out what inspired them to pursue their volunteer and service experiences, and hear a little of their story. So I hope that we can start with Alicia.
Sorry, almost made the mistake of not unmuting and beginning to talk. So yeah, as I said in my intro, I started volunteering with Habitat for Humanity while at the University of Pittsburgh, Greensburg during their Collegiate Challenge. And I had a love of travel at the time, and I really wanted to explore those options and see how I can continue my desire to volunteer with Habitat and combine it with other activities in my life. And I just happened to stumble across the Global Village program. and immediately signed up. The first trip I went on was in 2011. So shortly after graduation, I went to Romania and built a house. Really incredible experience. And since then, I've gone on to build in Guatemala, Zambia, Jordan, Vietnam. I did have 2 trips canceled this year thanks to COVID. Those were in Poland and Lesotho. But really what makes me want to do this year over year, sometimes multiple times per year, is really about the people that you meet, whether it's, the friends that you make on the build site, the future homeowners that you're actually building for, or even the people in the community. Every experience is so unique and everyone is so loving and caring that it really makes for a magical and memorable experience. There's actually a joke in the Habitat community that it's habititis, where you just get bit and you just keep going because you're addicted. It's quite magical.
Thank you, Alicia. Ferio?
Hi everyone, I'm Ferio. I graduated from Pitt, Greensburg in April 2020 with a bachelor's degree in biology and a minor in healthcare management. Some of the volunteerism that I was involved in throughout my time as a student was during my freshman and sophomore year. I volunteered at the Allegheny Health and Wellness Pavilion in Wexford. There, I was working in the Austin's Playroom with children, working with them and collaborating with the director of the child care center to come up with different arts and crafts with students. And that was a very valuable opportunity because their parents were receiving care at this health and wellness pavilion, and just getting their spirits up and helping them cope with that. And then I also got to volunteer in the physical therapy department where I was working closely with patients. And through all these opportunities, I also got to explore a little bit more about healthcare. So I definitely recommend students, if they are a biology or chemistry, biochemistry major, and wanting to see what opportunities are out there, definitely start volunteering at a hospital or wellness pavilion to see where you exactly see yourself in healthcare. Then during my junior year, I did an internship at Redstone Senior Care, and that was also healthcare, but it was more managerial related. And the way that internship was set up was I was working closely with managers to bring about change to the senior care facility. And that whole experience really inspired me, and I began to get really interested in healthcare administration. So throughout these various volunteerism and service opportunities that people have, they can find passions, and I definitely recommend students to take advantage of this upcoming year and search for opportunities.
So I have to ask you in particular, what prompted you to do a postgraduate internship?
I'm a lifelong learner, and I always enjoy learning and continuing to grow and develop. So I took on 2 internships. I did the student planner with the city of Greensburg, and I did a patient safety fellowship with the Jewish Healthcare Foundation, learning more about the impact of COVID-19 and how various health systems responded to COVID-19.
So I think I can address this question to several of you. So many of our recent graduates are considering a gap year at this point, trying to look for alternative types of work, different kinds of options. How does service help students or recent graduates to transition into the workplace?
I think I alluded to this before, that I just believe that service within organizations allows for relationship building in a way where people will vouch for you. So when that opportunity arises, when that door opens, you're the person that will come to mind, because you're there, and they can vouch for the quality of your work. I know as a very new hiring manager that I appreciate good employees that I can trust with projects. And I really appreciate young professionals and students, because you bring new perspective, new energy, and a willingness to roll your sleeves up, work alongside of community to build together. And, and if I can trust you with doing that, trust you with Mr. or Mrs. Jones, I can, then focus on other aspects of the work. So yeah, I just want to, just to summarize, I really believe that relationship building in every regard is important, but especially when you're looking for employment opportunities and when you're trying to figure out where you fit in too. Like I mentioned before, interning at Def Jam I thought would be a wonderful experience, and it was, but it also taught me that that industry wasn't for me. So just enjoy this time, because as you get older and you start your families, and I'm going to sound like a very old lady, but I have to, you won't have time. So like enjoy this time, explore.
There's one word that comes to mind, Dorothy, and that is character. So by engaging in volunteerism and service learning, you've already demonstrated your character. As a hiring manager, as a leader of an organization, I really look for two things: a good human being and someone who's willing to learn. I really feel like you can teach everything else, but if we've got good human beings and people who are willing to learn, that's who I want on my team. And by engaging in any of the types of service learning, volunteerism, and internships that we've been talking about this evening, you're demonstrating your character. And that's a leg up in your next step in your career.
And I can echo that, what Bobby just said about character. I know a lot of the supervisors and managers for the nonprofits that we partner with, and the school districts, they say when they are interviewing, if somebody has AmeriCorps on their resume, they already weight those candidates with extra points, because they feel as though if someone was willing to give up their time for a whole term of service, you're getting a stipend, but you're not getting rich, and you are working really, really hard. It does show a lot of grit, character, resiliency, tenacity, and they want you on your team. So just seeing that on a resume is going to impress somebody right off the bat. And I'll share just another little story, because it goes beyond just even doing AmeriCorps. My son, who I drug into doing a lot of community service projects through my AmeriCorps experience, was out in California, and he was applying for a chef position. And he went and he put in his resume, and the chef pretty much just kind of said, yeah, kid, whatever. My son was driving away a little dejected, and he got a phone call because the chef looked at his resume and he said, "You have a lot of volunteer experience. Tell me about that." And my son got this job in this really exclusive restaurant just because of his connection to AmeriCorps, even when he wasn't an AmeriCorps member. So people are really impressed that you're going to take the time out of your life and volunteer, have a gap year. It does show character, gives you a leg up.
And I can also speak to some organizations where they have education stipends, which they can use towards graduate school or even towards their previous loans, having done some sort of a program such as AmeriCorps, which is very, another perk in thinking about these kinds of opportunities. So nonprofits are incredibly inspiring. They're a lot about value-based types of positions. And I'm just curious if you could speak a little bit to the heart of your organization, just in the fact of, do you have a success story that comes to mind that keeps you going back? Is there something that's happened to you that you would like to talk about, just to share an example? Jeff?
Hey guys, so so that's a great question, Dorothy. And while the folks that are involved in nonprofits are thinking about that, I just wanted to. So I was really thinking about your question. So how does service translate? Two things stick out, right? So one is figuring yourself out, right? So when you're involved in a community, doing service, or what's personal to me is planning, right? So when you're helping people think about the future, you're figuring yourself out, right? So watching students go through that process of saying, yes, I'm good at this, and yes, I'm good at that. I love the Def Jam story, right? Figuring out what you don't want to do. Although I love Def Jam and it's got a great history, but so figuring yourself out. And then I think the second thing is, like, so instead of talking about what you can do or what you think you can do, you can show people what you have done. And I think that's big, right? So Fariel, you did the stakeholder analysis, right? So which is, you can do a stakeholder analysis no matter what you're working on, right? So the ability to look into a community, identify the people that have an interest in a particular project or initiative is big, right? So, and it's not just something that you kind of talk about, it's something that you can, we can, Fariel, we can show them, not the spreadsheet, but those Word documents that you did, and you did a real nice job doing this. Like, all that stuff is tangible, right? So you can sit down and say, this is what I'm capable of. And I think that's different. I think it gives you a different spot. So now that you've had the time, I'll listen.
I think one of the biggest issues and success stories for us in our career field is when there's a disaster. We go through the damage assessment process and then the recovery. And a lot of times, circling back to that initial comment that I made about the difference between a first responder and an emergency manager, is that when a first responder goes in and they take care of the immediate life safety action, then they kind of leave. But folks that are in emergency management, local government, we're still here. And we work with many different agencies to help people rebuild. And I often, when I teach, I use the analogy of you get like a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle, and it's dumped on the table, but somebody reaches in, scoops a handful of the pieces out, and they don't give you the box. And so you're trying to work as hard as you can to put this puzzle back together with limited resources, albeit money, time, human resources, etc. And so when you try to put all that together and you work these countless hours with amazing people who, most of them are volunteers, who are trying to help those folks that are hurting, it's pretty rewarding when it finally comes together and you're able to get them the help or the relief or reduce that suffering that you can. And so I find that it's been a pretty rewarding job. I've been on 125 type 3 or larger incidents in my 10 years with PEMA, and that's a lot. It's a lot. And so to be able to be a part of that is extremely rewarding. And the solution isn't always perfect, and it's not always exactly the way they want it, but it is moving forward and trying to really help people recover. And so it's like I said, I find it to be an extremely rewarding experience.
I agree with the reward. Mine was slightly different. My habitat experience in Zambia was probably my most memorable and heartfelt. The person we were building a house for, his wife left him, his children had passed away, and he was left to care for 3 small children. And he had contracted a disease, so he was blind. They kicked him out of his community, so he had to rent this really small room from his brother, who was in the main town recovering from a heart attack. It was just a lot of emotions. And we built him a 3-room house, which was so much more than what he had had. And it was this beautiful moment where the Habitat affiliate took him around his house and made him put his hand on the wall of his house. And it was just a beautiful moment where he's like, this is yours, this is your house, this is your safety. It was just beautiful. I'll never forget that. And that's really what takes me back to Habitat every single time, are those moments.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I would just add real quickly that United Way serves nearly 500,000 people in southwestern Pennsylvania and those counties I mentioned earlier. 500,000 people in our community who need help, our neighbors, our friends. And over the last several months, many more of them have needed help. And we have served over 300,000 grab and go meals to families, kids and families, since March. And those meals are around everything that the food bank is already doing, everything that the summer food programs are already doing, everything that all the school districts who are extending their feeding programs are already doing. 300,000 additional meals. And so if you ask, what's at the heart of working at a nonprofit, when you go day in and day out and you know that you're helping people who are experiencing such incredible need, it's what gets you out of bed in the morning.
I would say too, it humbles you. I remember a situation once, and I was working with someone who was really physically just so disadvantaged, so crippled up. And I was rushing through my day and I was a little bit irritated and grumpy. And we were walking past a window and there was some snow coming down. And with all his issues and problems that he had to overcome, he stopped and he looked out the window and he looked at me and he said, "Carol, do you ever remember a more beautiful day?" And I've never forgotten that. It stopped me in my tracks. Some of the work that we do just really humbles you and brings you right back down to earth.
I can tell you when I volunteered with Hurricane Katrina for the 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a long period of time, but it can actually feel like a lifetime when you're in certain situations. And there was a lot of devastation following Hurricane Katrina. And I remember when I was doing the disaster relief, I actually went in and they trained me on how to do different kinds of assessments, how to look at structural damage, and the people were awarded different amounts of money based on their family need and how many people were in their family. And there was one family of 10, and they were living in what was a trailer, but the walls had come down. They ended up putting sheets up around. And they had a group of puppies that were malnourished and looked like they weren't gonna make it. But they really cared for them. And they had 2 little kids that they were trying to care for. But the one thing that was so amazing was we were able to help them somehow. We were able to give them a little bit of hope. And I can tell you that this is the reason why volunteerism and nonprofits and doing service-related organizations, you touch so many people that you never thought that you would. And I think it's just an amazing experience. And if you ever do it, I'd say you will never forget it. So I know we're gonna have to wrap things up here, but I wanted to ask if there were any other suggestions or insights that you would like to share, particularly, we have the class of 2020, but we also have the class of 2021. And if there's anything that you think would be helpful for them, any kind of helpful information would be wonderful.
I would look internally at Pitt or for any opportunities to volunteer or intern or support. So I want to say by the time my senior year came around, I was a DJ at WPTS because, again, I wanted to work in the music industry. So a lot of the experiences that I sought at Pitt while I was a student and shortly thereafter were around that interest. I sent Dorothy an email, so I'm not sure if you could get this out to the people who registered, but as a connector, folks always contact me with job opportunities, so I did want to share this with the group. There's a organization called RISE. It is a statewide organization, and they are starting to get students ready for the vote coming up, and getting students registered. They are looking for 100 students to fill their fellowship hours. It looks like they're paying $15 an hour, 15 hours a week, and all of the work is remote. So you don't have to worry about in-person contact. If you're interested, she could forward you the email, and I just got the email yesterday. So it's not anything to, really celebrate, but it's something that you can add to your resume, and it will put some money in your pocket while you're looking for that opportunity.
Anyone else? Okay. I just wanted to go quickly through these couple of things so that there are a lot of other upcoming information sessions, things that we're planning. These are just a few examples, things that are going to be up for you on various websites. We've listed all of the different career centers. Please reach out to them. Habitat for Humanity, AmeriCorps, Peace Corps are just a few examples that you're going to be seeing. There's also going to be examples of these kinds of projects on Pitt Commons. So please watch for that. You should be receiving emails shortly. It's a way to build skills. It's short-term projects, but these again can go a very, very long way. Help you to make connections, help you to enhance your skills, help you to gain additional experience. So we want to let you know that is in the works too. We will be starting Q&A in just a moment. I just wanted to say that having worked in higher education, specifically career counseling for several years, there are typically 3 topics that we focus on for a student who's trying to choose a major, a career, or possibly their next step. 1 is interests. How do interests translate into career options? 2, skills. What are your strengths? What abilities do you want to bring to your career? And 3, values. So what is important to you? What do you believe in? When deciding on your next step or ultimate career, perhaps you can choose to look at all 3 like the people you heard from today. When looking at a company, an organization, an agency, please read their mission statement. If your beliefs align with theirs, it can make such an amazing impact on you and the people around you. We hope if you take nothing away from tonight but this, please think about what is important to you and how you might bring your skills, talents, and education to those around you. We would like to say thank you again to our panel for sharing their time, expertise, and vision. And thank you to all those who attended this session. We hope this helped you to learn more about how to research options and consider possibilities. We will now stop recording to have a few minutes for Q&A. Please type any questions that you have for our panel in chat box if you have not already done so.